The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Whether you're new to sales or a lifetime veteran, the Blackbelt Sales Podcast will sharpen your sword and guide you to master the art of sales. And now, here's your host, the ninja himself, Gene Slade.
What's up, Don? First podcast of 2025. I know you were sick. You're feeling better now. Are you ready for this big year?
It is going to be an incredible year. If you want to join the journey, get on this podcast, get in the Lead Ninja Mastermind. Let's go.
Let's go.
I see that LFG too much out there. I know who started that, but I'm just okay with let's go. We don't have to throw that F out there all the time. Let's go.
So, Don, we were talking about this morning inside of the Lead Ninja Mastermind, since it was the first podcast of 2025 or the first training that we've done here in 2025. And we were asking some of our participants about their goals for the year. And I think some of them hadn't even really thought about it yet, because when I asked everybody to post them, we only got like 3 people that posted them in the chat. And then what I saw kind of made me, I don't want to say upset, but I guess maybe made me sad, because a lot of the guys, they just, it seemed like their goals weren't being set high enough. What do you think about that?
Yeah. There's too many of the ones out there that want us to set, these achievable, realistic goals. And when you're looking at the big picture, sometimes you have to kind of stretch your mind a little bit. You don't know what you don't know yet, right? You don't know what can be accomplished. So put the number out there and then see if you can figure out how to get to it. It's not as impossible as you might think, right? If you are a comfort advisor and the top guy in your company does 6 million, well, why isn't your goal at least to be 6 million? If you're the top guy at your company and you're doing 6 million, why aren't you saying, I can be the top guy that I've ever heard of in the country? Is that 9? Is that 12 million from one comfort advisor? I've heard stories on each of those.
14.7.
There you go. 14.7. So I may be calling Billy out right now. If you know Billy, maybe, he should be looking at 14.7 and then saying, what would it take to do that? I like your little statement about, quote Les Brown about setting goals.
Yeah, I actually have that written down as a note to go over here in the show. Les Brown, he said, and he was maybe even quoting somebody, but Les says that he believes that more people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Think about that for a second. More people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. What do you say about that, Don?
Wow, it's powerful. It's exactly it. As we put ourselves in a little box, and that box maybe has the sides on it that were built by our parents or our coworkers or our little community that we live in, and we limit our mind that's all that's possible. That's all you can do here. Or we have this little negative thing going on. I see this from time to time, that any guy who sells 14 million must be a crook. He must be doing it wrong. Man, I see it in so many of the Facebook groups that want to just jump on. If somebody is selling something, they are being crooked and just taking advantage of people. I'm not going to say that people out there's not somebody out there that's done something wrong, but I'm also going to say that most of the people who say that are just justifying their low performance. Like, I don't want to sell 2 million, 6 million because I don't want to be a crook.
Sure.
You don't have to be doing illegal and crooked things, unethical things to be a high producer in this world.
Don, a lot of us grew up with parents who would say things like rich people are con artists, rich people, rip people off. And I was listening to Weldon Long's, I think it was Power of Consistency, maybe it was the other book. And he talks about that, how we get pre-programmed from a young stage to not be wealthy or not be rich because the people that help to form our, who we are, because whatever you think, what your thoughts affect your actions, right? And then your thoughts affect your feelings affect your actions, and then your actions affect your life.
Exactly.
So, and Weldon talked about how his dad used to say that, rich people were crooks, rich people steal things and stuff like that. And so Weldon's like, I want to be rich. So, he's stealing shit now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's consider, guys, that who you have become had a lot to do with who you were exposed to when you were young. And I want to ask you, those people that you were exposed to when you're young, are they in the place or the position that you want to be in? And if they're not in that place or position that you want to be in, would it make sense that you might want to listen to somebody else? Don, I just did the math on on 14.7 million, which is what that guy did. Working 250 days a year, 5 days a week. That's $58,800 in sales per day. When you break it down like that, it doesn't really seem that unrealistic. Maybe for some people it's unrealistic. They think, how could I ever do that? But to me, that looks like two $30,000 jobs. It looks like going out on 3 quotes and getting 2 of them for $30K.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you break a big number down into the steps that you have to do, the steps don't seem that intimidating anymore. But if you concentrate on the results, the 14.7 million, you'll kind of psych yourself out. But if you just say, I got to run 3 calls, I got to go 2 of them, and they each need to have a full high-performance system with ductwork or indoor air quality. They either get ductwork or indoor air quality and a high-performance system. Now I'm not concentrating on the 14.7 million. I'm talking about 2 calls, closing 2 every day, running 3, closing 2, putting the full package together every time. So I got to have a $30,000 in this math option on every quote that I give. How many people are even putting a $30,000 option out there nowadays?
It probably means that you've got to have a $50,000 option in actuality.
Yep, maybe so. But let's get them at least to giving at least one option, their top option, would get them to their goal. Once you get that point that you're comfortable, most people are scared of zeros, is what I call it. I can't quote somebody $30,000. They throw me out of the house. That's all in your head, right? It's the way you present it that gets you thrown out of the house, not the $30,000, right? So it's not the quote that does it. It's you not giving them the choices or not putting it out there the right way. So all that being said is, man, 14.7 million is not that outrageous. Now, okay, if you're a business owner, you just did the math of how do you get your company to 14.7 million?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. 100%. 58,800 a day. That's it.
That's it.
And look, maybe we set that goal. Like, remember the quote again. Most people aim too high and miss when they, aim too low and hit and stuff. Like, would it be horrible if your goal was 60K a day, 15 million a year, and you only did half of that? I mean, like, if you only did 20K a day, that's 5 million a year, guys. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
5 million a year. It's not that unrealistic. It's 20K a day. That means if you run 3 calls, you get one $20,000 sale. It's just not that far out there. Your dream life really is just on the other side of you really getting this and getting somebody or multiple people in your corner rowing in the same direction with you to help hold you accountable and push you.
Exactly. If you've got your numbers from last year, and I encourage you to know your numbers. Absolutely, you should know your numbers. What did I do? Yep. That's your baseline.
What did I do this in January last year? What did I do the whole year? What did I do the first week?
Exactly. And I want to know the number of calls, obviously want to know the revenue, and I want to know the close ratio, right? That revenue and number of calls is average ticket, so it's the same math there. But there's 3 ways to grow your numbers this next year. You can run more calls.
Hey, Don, let's get a little interaction real quick. I want you to say this, but guys, if you're watching this live, will you please just put live down in the comments? If you're watching it on a replay, throw replay down in the comments. And also, if you already have set your goal for 2025, will you please let us know what that is? Throw that down in the comments. What 1 or 3 goals have you already put together? I'm not talking about resolutions. I'm talking about goals. Keep going, Don. 3 ways to increase your income or increase your business revenue. What are they?
Right. And it works as a comfort advisor, service tech, or as a business owner, manager, when you're working your numbers. I can either run more calls, I can get more revenue on each one of those calls, average ticket, right? Or I can have a higher close rate on that call. So I can do any of those 3 and accomplish my goal. And I would encourage you to say, I'm going to set my math to say, I'm going to do just one of those. So my first would be average ticket. So average ticket. So whatever your new goal wants to be, can I get it by just raising my average ticket on it? Okay. Now redo the math and say, I want my new goal. And we'll talk about how to get that new goal, but here's how you calculate it. The new goal, I'm going to do it by closing more. Okay, same average ticket, but I'm just going to close more of the ones that I'm already going on and get that number. And then last, just say, okay, if I can't improve my closing ratio, I can't improve the average ticket because that's just the world I live in. Well, then I'm just going to have to run more calls. How many more calls will I have to run to get there? Set all 3 of them. I would do this as a business, and I would say the number of calls, this is the number of calls we have to do. I'd give that goal to my dispatchers. All right.
Yep.
I would then say, here's the closing ratio. I'd usually throw that over to the comfort advisors. And here's our average ticket. That was probably the conversation a little more with my service department, because service department numbers can drag an average ticket down for a company,
Yeah, they can eat the profit from the replacements, just completely consume it.
Yeah. So as a business owner and kind of the leader of a company, I would set those 3 goals, and I'd give each department one of those. If they all accomplished, we might hit, a 10% increase in each really results in almost a 50% increase in your company because of the compounding of that. All right. I'm not going to do all that math right here, but you just don't get a 10%. You get it's actually more like a 35 or 36% increase, not just a 10% increase. 3 10% increases are powerful. 3 25% increases are just lights out wonderful. Seems like that's a
Change the
double
game.
and then some. Yeah, just phenomenal what that does for a company. But I would set those and give them to 3 different departments and say, that's your goal. We got to run this many calls. And then I'd break it down to the number per week, for the month, per week. We were a very good weekly company, meaning we set goals every week.
Yep.
And we shot for those goals, and then we adjusted based on, did we do that goal for this week or not? So that's the 3 that are so powerful in our businesses right now. And you know them, but you can, if you're a comfort advisor, you're a salesperson, you're a service guy, you can go to the 3 different departments and say, this is the number of calls I want to run. I want you want your manager to say, hey, I want you to help me and hold me accountable to getting my average ticket to this and my close rate to that. Let people in on your team instead of them fighting against you. There might be some people that say, don't set those goals that high. You're not going to achieve them. It's better to set a high goal and miss than it is a low goal and hit. So
there are always going to be those people out there, guys. You've got to block those people out. And look, I can even be one of those people. Like, if you tell me that you've never done more than 500,000 in sales and that you want to do 5 million this year, and I don't know you, and you're not on a training program, and you really got no way to get there, like, my mind says, yeah, right. Right. Yeah. But I've seen it happen before, right? So don't let somebody else's non-belief in you affect your belief in you. Go ahead and set that target. Now,
Yeah.
Don, you talked about raising average tickets, improving closing rates. I just want to drop a couple tips for them, because some guys might be saying, okay, yeah, you're telling me to raise my average ticket, but how the hell do I do it? You're telling me to increase my closing ratio, but how do I do it? Right? So number one, if you want to raise your average ticket, there's many different ways we can do that. But let's start with just offering more. How about that? There was a study done back years ago by Honeywell, and it was with Comfort Advisors, and they wanted to sell accessories. So they said, listen, for every Comfort Advisor that goes out and gives a quote, we're going to make it mandatory for them to put 3 options on their list at the bottom. They don't even have to talk about them, but there needs to be 3 accessories. Now, when they did that, how many accessories do you think people bought? They bought 1. Right? And they said, if it worked for 3, let's see what happens when we do 10. All they did was put 10 options down at the bottom. And on average, how many do you think people bought? It was 3. So what was the only difference between before and after? It was just the number of options that were there.
Right.
So if you can learn to create a prioritized list as a service or maintenance technician and create categories like mandatory, near future, nice to have, like we do, you can like stuff that's just nice to have. You can put all kinds of stuff in that category, right?
Absolutely.
And so the larger that number is at the bottom of the paper, including all the nice to have stuff, the cheaper the other stuff looks, and that's going to help to increase your average ticket. Just put more stuff on your list, even if you don't talk about it at first.
Yeah, a lot of people hear raise your average ticket in the corporate world and the manager world. They hear raise our prices. And sometimes raise our prices are
do that.
legit. There's some companies out there that charge too little. I get that. But that's not what we're talking about here. You can just put more things on the list and raise your average ticket. If you're not adding surge protectors, if you're not adding, the float switches and easy starts on the list, those are items that can raise your average ticket and not raise the price to the customer. Because again, a lot of techs are like, man, if he says raise our average ticket, that just means our company's going to raise these prices again, and they're going to kind of overcharge our customers. That's not what we're talking about here. Again, there are companies out there that that when they don't have a good sales process, they do that by just saying, hey, let's charge $650 for a capacitor.
Right.
Right. That's not what we would say to do at all. I can get more revenue by a longer list than I am by just raising the prices so high. Right.
Right.
So low sales skill company that solves the problem that way. High sales skills company, they can be the lowest price on parts and pieces in town and still having a higher average ticket than anybody.
Yeah.
And more profit, right?
Because more of those components and accessories are going into their clients' houses.
Yeah, exactly. So I want you to put more on your list, not raise your prices per se. Again, there are some situations that raise your prices is a good answer for people. But
in many, many cases, that's a good answer.
Yeah, but
that's not what we're talking about here. But that is another solution, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And frankly, if you raise your prices 10% tomorrow, what percentage of your clients do you think you would lose? Go ahead and put it down in the comments. If you guys are watching this right now, if you raised your prices 10%, what percentage of your clients would stop doing business with you? And then my second question is, if that answer is 10% or less, when do you think would be a good time to raise your prices?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if I raise my prices 10%, I can run 90% of the calls and make the same amount of revenue. Right? So, and then Don, the second thing that you were talking about was improving your closing ratio. So tips here, or one tip. I'm not going to give them all the tips, right, Don? They got to come in to the group for that.
Okay.
And by the way, if you guys want more training like this and you want to have, personal contact with Don and myself and some of my other coaches, and you guys want to, double, triple, quadruple, 10x even your income, reach out to us. My cell phone number, we'll put it up on the screen here, is 239-848-6533. Shoot me a text, okay? 239-848-6533, and just say, hey, listen, I need to get more information on training, and I'll hook you up with my team, and they'll have a conversation with you about it.
Right.
But going back to improving the closing ratio, Don, one of the things that immediately comes to my mind is features and benefits of doing business with your company, which really, at the end of the day, means you got to be able to handle an objection, right? Yeah. So how about you start with the I want to think about it objection, guys? How about you just learn how to handle that one? And when you learn how to handle that one, you're going to learn how to handle the price objection at the same time. I'm here to tell you, you want the price objection. The price objection is the only one you can really handle. You can't handle, I want to think about it. I want to think about it's a smokescreen. It ain't even real. When a man or a woman says they want to think about it, they already thought about it and stopped thinking. I'm going to say that one more time. When a man or a woman says, I want to think about it, they already thought about it and stopped thinking. I remember reading that in a Ron Smith book. I think it was HVAC Spells Wealth. So you got to learn how to handle the customer objections and then justify your price. If you can do those two things, it will radically transform your life. I mean, radically. Consider, go ahead.
And if you're getting hit with one objection that just throws you off track, that hurts you, that kind of derails your process, put it in the comments. But wouldn't it be smart to go find some information and go find some way to help with that? Nothing is 100%, but if you got half of those that went, I want to think about it, turned into a sale immediately, wouldn't that be meaningful? Wouldn't that be very meaningful? I always say I'll take a yes, I'll take a no. It's the maybes in this life that drive us crazy. You have a list a mile long of all the people you're chasing in life. I don't want that. I want people chasing me, not me chasing them. So that's what I'll take a yes. I'll take a no. Never, not even going to be upset. It's the maybes that just say this. It just gives anxiety if you can't close it, right? And sometimes a close means a no. I closed it. It just ain't going to happen. That's okay too. I can move on with a clear conscience easier than I can chase past dreams. So, close ratio is typically, am I establishing the need that there's really an issue, and am I handling the money? There's a number of guys out there that are scared to talk about money. There's a number of guys out there that won't even ask for the order. I was shocked the other day when training a guy, and I said, how do you ask for the order? And he says, I really don't. I just give them the price and say, let me know. I just call me when you're ready. That's all you say? No, yeah. Well, let's say it this way from now on, and let's see if that makes a difference. Let's just ask for the order.
Guys, if I could only help you handle every time a client says, I want to think about it, what kind of impact would that make on your life? If at least 50% of the time when they said, I want to think about it, I gave you the words to close half of them, how much more revenue would you be making? How much better would you feel at the end of the day? When you walk out of the client's house with a zero ticket or a no, how does that feel? Does it feel like rejection? Does that feel good? Do you like that? Do you want to continue to experience it? Why not consider starting 2025 out with a plan, right? And with mentors that can actually help you get to where you want to be. Mentors who have been already where you want to go. You realize that that's the kind of person that you want in your life, right? So if any of you are looking for that, put mentorship down in the comments, or you can rewind this video and text me again at that telephone number. All right. Put mentorship down in the comments. So I want to think about it is a BS objection. It's a smoke screen. If it were free, would they need to think about it? No, something else is wrong. And we'll show you how to handle that in 2025 and absolutely obliterate your goals. Don, the last thing that I had on my my list here of things to talk about today was not just the words big think, right? I heard Grant say those words so many times over the last couple of years. And he said one of the things that he wishes he could change was the size of his thinking. And I think the reason that we don't want to think big is because we're afraid that we're going to feel like a failure if we don't hit our goals. So I don't, you can expand on that if you want, but the real last thing was, how fast can you hit these goals? And I think everybody really, I don't think you're thinking right about this, a lot of you. And when I say right, I don't mean right or wrong. There's an alternative thought process that I want to share with you this morning. If your goal is to go from, let's say, $2.5 million in sales to $5 million in sales, a lot of people think I got to work all year to be a $5 million salesperson. When in reality, if you go out and you sell something like $420,000 in a month, you are tracking at $5 million. You are selling the equivalent of $5 million annually. So you truly can get to that goal a lot faster than 12 months. A lot of you could get there in 30 to 60 days with our coaching. We watch this all the time. Billy is a perfect example. And I know you guys have heard me talk about him before, but Billy literally just crushed the $6 million mark. And this is only his second year in the business. Okay. So, and he's only known us for a year, and he's done all of this off of the training that he's gotten from Lead Ninja for free for a year and then paid for a year. So what kind of impact would $6 million in sales make in your life? I think pretty much everybody on this podcast, I'd bet very few people are actually hitting those kinds of numbers. You're talking about true 1%ers.
Yeah,
Evan, I'll have somebody get a hold of you, Evan, and have a conversation about what mentorship can look like. There's a lot of different ways for that to happen.
Absolutely.
Dustin Thorne right here is a perfect example as well. He just put some comments down in the chat here. He said, you absolutely can do that. Dustin is living proof. Last week, he did $107,650 something in sales, I think. And then this morning he texted me like at 9:30, and he's like, bro, I just can't believe this. I'm already at 30 grand for the day. So he's probably going to end up with another $100,000 week on his hands here. And Don, this is the craziest thing. It's 50 degrees out this morning here in Florida. The air conditioners are really not running. There's no sense of urgency here, other than the sense of urgency that Dustin is now able to create, because he knows how to establish a need for the things that the clients need. And that really is the key to become a master ninja salesperson.
Yeah.
Don, anything else you want to share with the people before we wrap this up?
Sense of urgency, since you mentioned that with Dustin, if your only sense of urgency is price, you're running into a very
screwed.
difficult sales process, right?
You're screwed.
Yeah, I get that those do occur, 0% for 60 if your company allows it, or I'll give you a cheap price because it's our off season. That's going to lead you in the wrong direction. You need a sense of urgency that relates to the pain of not doing this from their standpoint, from their home standpoint, from their health standpoint, from their power bill standpoint, whatever it is. You have to find that sense of urgency. And if you're not sure what we mean by that, put sense of urgency down in the comments, and we'll try to see if we can schedule a time to help you clear that up or something with that. So, I was taking a look at our Lead Ninja Mastermind. It's the thing I'm most proud of. I love this group of guys. I work with them. It's a Facebook group that shares information. I watch their videos. I grade them. I absolutely love this group that we have. And by my calculation, we were about 13 people short of the goal that I had set for the year. So, okay, I didn't accomplish mine. I think it was a big goal at the time, but we're about 13 people short of how many I wanted to be in the mastermind starting this year. So is there anything we can do to maybe get people to see if they want to join that? Any incentives, or what does it take to get in the mastermind right now, Gene?
Well, it takes a conversation. It's not a group that is open to the public. You can't just go online and purchase a membership into the mastermind. There's an interview process. So the process would be to just let us know, hey, look, I want to talk about what it looks like to have other training. And then my team can either shoot you text messages, they can set up a quick Zoom call with you and just let you know what's available for you. We will not be pushing you into anything. As a matter of fact, many times we just don't feel like we're a good fit with the client. And if that's the case, we'll let you know. But that would be what I would do. You can shoot me a text at 239-848-6533. For those of you that are listening on audio, that's 239-848-6533. And I will hook you up with a team member that will be able to help you with that. You can also reach out to us on any of my profile pages, on any of the social platforms. Those are all monitored by my team as well, and occasionally by me. So reach out that way and just say, hey, what can I do to get started? And we'd be happy to have those conversations with you. Don't wait until you're halfway through the year and you're like, shit, I'm way behind on my goals. And then it'll be overwhelming and you won't even put in the effort. Yeah. Hook up with somebody who, if it's not us, hook up with somebody else that's a mentor and coach for you. I just hired another mentor and coach. So I've got 2 now that I'm working with, and they are not cheap, but they're effective, right? So I never get excited about sending them money, Don. Never get excited about it, but I get excited about the results. So, Don, appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, and I see that we have a big event in April.
That's right.
I encourage people to look at that. Maybe even look at a combo if you come to the April and do the Lead Ninja Mastermind, get started. How powerful your year would start if you took yourself serious this year. But that April 5th, 6th show is going to be incredible. One of the biggest ones we've ever done. So
it will be the biggest event that we've ever held. We'll have over 300 people there in April. So guys, you want to mark it on your calendars now. April 5th and 6th. We're doing 2 full days of training in Fort Myers, Florida. We're renting out one of the cinemas there, and there are going to be a couple different packages. You'll have your regular general admission package that'll include a digital manual for you on your iPad. Then there's a VIP package that will include lunches with people like myself, people like my celebrity friend Gary Cox, and potentially some other people that we might bring in just for the lunches so that you can have a motivational Q&A during the lunch. That package will also include 1 private dinner at my house. And then there's a platinum package above that also includes like a yacht trip or a deep sea fishing trip the following Monday, which would be the 7th. So if you're going to be like platinum or diamond member, then you might want to stay an extra day and have some personal fun time with us out in the Gulf of Mexico. So that's when it's going down. If you want information on that, just put event down at the bottom or say, hey, what are those tickets cost? By the way, the general admission tickets are about 30% of what we normally and historically have charged our cheapest participants or our cheapest tickets. So this is available to everybody. There will be people who will be sending 10 and 12 of their employees here because it's going to be so inexpensive to attend. So get your seats now before we end up selling them out. Don, thanks again this morning. Let's get out of here. Let's let these people go to work and make some money.
All right. Have a great day.
See you,
Good
brother.
luck, guys.
See you, ninjas.